All right, it's been a while. We've been doing a lot of traveling, a lot of moving around. Ireland, UK. Now we're in Mexico. But I said I was going to give an update about kind of like what our situation was with investing, and I was going to slowly break down our investments so that I guess you can see we don't live off of our investments at this moment. We just kind of make them and just are accumulating them. But one of not our biggest position, but one of our like major goals was to have a dividend account that's like reoccurring and constantly like paying for our travels. But I found another way that was a bit more substantial. I could make a lot more. Like for a dividend account, I would need a huge amount of money to make a living off of. But I decided that I pivoted after, and I said, okay, well, I'm going to get the account to 20,000, and I'm going to cut it off. So we hit 20,000. I think it was a while ago. Let me see. Yeah, I hit 20,000 in October, and I was going to make the video, but I'm not as consistent because I'm trying to live and do other things and not just make videos, but I enjoy it. So here's the account. I'm going to walk through a few things that I think are important if you're going to invest in either these companies or have a dividend account or just investment in general. So have a goal, a solid number of when you're going to be at what it is that you need. For me, it was crazy. It was like 700,000, which is not really crazy if you think about like long term, constantly putting in money, constantly putting in like 1,000 a month, and then maybe adding more when you're doing better. So it took me probably like 2 years to do this, maybe less than that, because 1 month I did add like 2, maybe 3. But yeah, it took a while to get this knocked out. The big thing too you want to keep initially is 5% of whatever your portfolio is in cash. So let's say that something happens, all your investments go wrong, you still have 5% of your investment. Or let's say something happens where a stock is like really valuable drops, you can use this $1,000 to buy it, when it's low, and then just replenish that. But I try to generally keep 5%. So I'm gonna go through our as we've gained, and I'll go into losses, or maybe I should do it. No, yeah, gain then loss. Appreciate it. I was trying to look at. This is a part of the video, whatever. So I was trying to see which company seemed like the most solid for creating a vaccine or like dealing with the COVID situation, or what most people would consider. And Pfizer seemed to have the least transportable but the most functional product. So I was like, these countries will find a way to transport it if it's what works for them. So I invested in Pfizer. Chevron was a big one I got into. Everyone was saying gas was dead. They're like, gas is dying, it's over. And I remember thinking like, gas is not dead. We're still like, until they come up with a feasible electric car that anyone can buy, gas is not dead. There's going to be so many people still dealing with that. So that was like one of the top things. Those was like our biggest gainers, but I'm not going to go through every single thing. But I have done a lot of research into each position. And one of the big things I do is I look at other portfolios like ETFs and mutual funds. I go through their portfolio and look at like their top positions and how long they've held those positions. And I just look at which ones are the biggest dividends. I make sure that they have at least, I think, 3.5 to 7%. 7% is where it's like you get a little shaky, but you can get that for like utilities. I think that's where one I got pretty high, but you got to figure out what's the best investment strategy for you. So I'm just going to scroll through, and then you can pause the video as you see fit and do whatever research that you decide. But when I get to my losers, I'm gonna start to explain a bit more about like what I did to kind of like buffer those losses. So here, like I said, I've gained more than I've lost. So you can see I've gained 2,700, but that's not considering the dividends that have also accumulated throughout the years. So that's a larger number. And a good thing about the dividends too is they buffer my losses. So my dividends have already taken care of all these losses. You see red, but It's already paid for. But you can see even my losses are like companies that are really solid and I don't feel like I need to sell them. But I like to cut losses quick. If the company is really going downhill and I don't feel confident, I try to cut it as quick as possible. You can see my biggest loser was AT&T, but at one point they were my biggest gainer. And what happened is, you can look into it, but can you turn it down a little bit? What happened with AT&T is they're changing the structure of the company. I think they were either bought or they acquired a company and they're switching to like a streaming service with Discovery. I believe it's Paramount. Yeah, they're merging. So a lot of investors heard that, because of this, they're going to cut their dividend, which is really high. It's probably one of the best dividends that you can find. But supposedly once they say, like, there's a little bit of news that these things are going to be cut, price tanks. And I was like, let's just see. I've never been in this before. I don't know what's going to happen. So let's just hold on. And I'm down 133, which is in the scope of things, nothing. So Verizon was another one. I was thinking, well, yeah, they're leading the whole like 5G stuff. And though I don't necessarily agree, which I don't really care, it's technology, it's so I bought into them and the price slowly went down, but I just kept, buying because I'm like, telecommunications seems like they're the ones that are going to pivot and keep growing because we all use our phones. We're all going to try and stay connected. So I feel like they're just a solid thing to invest in, even on the down slope. But you can do a lot of research. And I did buy one company that I got a loss on. I didn't do research. I listened to a friend. They were like, oh, this is what I get for my dividends. And I went with it and I lost on it. Not that much. It was NEM. I think they're like mining gold. But I didn't lose that much. It was down like $60 at one point. And now it's back up. So I would say that the biggest thing I can tell you is to like do your own research, find what works for you, and don't be so quick to think like, oh, I'm gonna win at this, I'm gonna win big. It's like, this is long term. You gain more in the long term. And this is just one portfolio of many. Like I try to create, at least my goal is 10. I want 10 different revenue streams or investments. And so crypto is one. Precious metals is one, and I'm going to eventually get into all these things. But my dividend portfolio, I diversified heavily. I think my goal was above 50 is what they said, but below 100. So somewhere in there, I did like 60 different positions. And I have 2 sites that I use to monitor my positions. So Charles Schwab, I love you. It's great. But I also use another site that has more extensive research for dividends. But Charles Schwab has enough, but not a lot. So I do use another site. I'm gonna find it. So here's the other site I use to monitor my positions. They have a lot more data on each company, and it lets me know what the dividend is, and pretty much similar information as Charles Schwab, but I also get to know their dividends, like if they've cut them, so I can see if that dividend hits 0 or if I see it dropping. It's like they have a better method for me tracking dividend growth. If a company cuts a dividend, I cut them. That's immediate. Like I don't think about it. This isn't a growth portfolio. This is a dividend portfolio. I have a growth portfolio, and I invest in companies that don't have dividends. But specifically, I stick to my strategy. That's another thing I recommend. But I'm not gonna go too much in depth. I just wanted to show you, if you want to go through and write down all these positions, you can. Again, I tell you to do your own research. I'm not giving anyone advice. But another thing I would say is you're getting into these positions at a different time than me. I think they're going to continue to go, and I've gotten a lot off of them based off of the price moving. But most of it is dividends. If they go down, I'm buying more because I've done so much research into the companies. I'm not afraid to lose. I'm not afraid to be down on any of these positions. And I usually buy like one share if it's something that I'm interested in and I want to watch, and I just watch. I just sit there for like maybe a month or two just looking at the price. Every time I go in, I just see what that number is doing, and maybe watch the news, but just keeping them in my radar. And just let them sit until I feel comfortable with investing in that company. And if I don't, then most times they just sit. But there's many ways to go about doing this. You have to find your own. Just wanted to share this information because a friend told me they were interested. Y'all have a great day.